All right, there's a couple different ways to do IXL algebra BB5 graph quadratic equations in vertex form. I guess the hardest way would be to actually do some of these problems using just the form, no calculator, nothing like that. So what I did is instead of teaching you guys how to do that, I'm going to show you guys how to think smarter, not harder. So here we go. We have the problem f of x equals 2x squared. And over here to my right, I have my graphing calculator. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit y equals, and it's going to bring me to this screen. What I'm going to do is I'm going to type in my equation, 2x squared. Now, I'm going to hit graph so I have a general idea of what it looks like. The difference is the graph in my IXL might be different than the graph I have on my screen because of the units or how they count or things like that. So what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to go to the table. So I get to the table by hitting the second button and then graph. That brings me to this table. So now that I have this table, all right, I'm going to go back to my IXL and I'm going to plot some of these points. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plot 0, 0, okay? And then I'm going to plot the point 1, 2, okay? And notice by plotting the 2 points, it gave me the rest of the graph. It does this because it knows that because of the axis of symmetry, all right, in this case, it would be this gray line right here, that when I plot this point over here to the right, 1, 2, it knows that I must have pretty much the same point reflected on the other side of my axis of symmetry. So there we go. So I have negative 6x squared, so I'm going to come back here. I'm going to clear out what I got, so I'm going to write in negative 6x squared. Okay, I'm going to look at my graph, see what it's supposed to look like. All right, notice it's opening down. So I'm going to go to my table. All right, I'm going to pick a point in here. So I like to pick my vertex. Okay, so how do I know where my vertex is? Well, my vertex is going to be the point that my graph kind of switches. Notice here, it's going up, going up, going up, going up, going up. Now it's going back down. So this point right here, 0, 0, is my vertex. So I plot that point. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to plot another point. So that says 1, negative 6. So there we go. Now I can always check my work by going back here and comparing my two graphs. Y equals x squared. All right, now let's kind of do this without the calculator. How would I do it? Well, if we look at my notes, all right, so they're going to be loading in a second. So if I look at my notes and I specifically look at the cover and notice it's in vertex form, remember I said it was hairy callus, HK. So when I'm looking here, notice the H is with the X. Notice there is nothing with the X. And also notice that there is no K. There is no value out here. So that's going to tell me, since there is no, there's going to be the point 0, 0 for my vertex. Now, what I can do is I can pick a number for x. All right, in this case, let's just pick 2. X is going to be 2. All right, so if I go out to 2, what would f of x be? Well, 2 squared would be 4. All right, so that's how you do it without a calculator. One more time, compare this, okay? So this has no h, okay, and has no k. So again, I'm going to have my vertex at 0, 0. Now I'm going to pick another point. All right, let's pick 2 again. So let me plug in 2. So if x is 2, I have 5 times 2 squared. Well, 2 squared is 4, so 5 times 4 is 20. Notice that is off my graph, so I have to pick a different one. So instead of picking 2, let's pick 1. So if x is 1, I have 5 times 1 squared. Well, 1 squared is 1 times 5 is 5. All right, so now notice my graphs are starting to change. So again, I could type this into my graphing calculator here, but I'm just going to stick with this vertex form. Now notice there is no value with x. I just have a k. So that means if h is 0, k would be 4 in this case. Notice how it compares. X is in the parentheses with h. There is nothing with x in parentheses. And here, k is the number outside. So it's going to be 0, 4. This 3 tells me that it's going to open up. So let's pick a value for x. Let's pick 1. I think 1 is a great number to pick because it's 1 unit away from my vertex. And it's nice and easy to plug in. So I have 3 times 1 squared. Well, 1 squared is 1 times 3 is 3. Now I have to add the 4. So I'm going to be at 1, 7. All right, again, this is very similar to the last one. So my vertex would be at 0, 7. I'm going to be opening up because that's a positive. Let's plug in 1 again. I have 3 times 1 squared. 1 squared is 1, so 3 times 1 is 3, plus 7 is 10. Now notice here, see the value in with the x in the parentheses? Now notice this one says negative. I always like to think of it as the opposite, okay? So whatever this value is, h is going to be the opposite of it. So that's going to be negative 3. Now notice there is no k here, so k is 0. So my vertex is at negative 3, 0. It's going to be opening up because that is positive. So let's plug in. Now, if I were to plug in 1, see how far away it is? Okay, see how many units away 1 is? It's 1, 2, 3, 4 units away. So if this is my vertex, I want to pick a value that's 1 unit away from my vertex. In other words, I want to pick negative 2 in this case. So let's plug in negative 2. Negative 2 plus 3 is 1. 1 squared is 1 times 6 is 6. Here, we're back to having no h. Okay, this time a is negative though, so let's pay attention to this. So we're going to be at 0, 3. Now we're opening down because this is negative. Okay, so if I'm here, let's plug in 1 because that's easy. It's 1 unit away. So 1 squared is 1 times negative 5 is negative 5 plus 3 is negative 2. Again, if you're really struggling with it, you can always come here. You can hit y equals, type in negative 5x squared plus 3. You can graph it, get an idea of what it looks like, and then you can go to your table and pick points out of here. Remember, you have to find out what your vertex is in this case. So your vertex here is that point. Remember, there's a couple different ways you can calculate it. You can do second trace to get to the calc. Then we have a max. So I can go down to number 4, okay? And then I pick a point to the left. I can pick a point to the right. And then I can pick the point in the middle. Notice it gives me the same value, 0, 3. All right, so that's how I would know to plot the point 0, 3 to choose this one. Again, notice it's going up, 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 and then it starts going back down, telling me that this is my maximum value, and that's my vertex. So there's 2 ways to do it on the calculator, and I've been showing you the one way here. So again, let me do this one real quick. All right, so remember it's going to be the opposite of this, so h is going to be negative 4, and there is no k. Here, this is negative, so I know I'm opening down. So let me pick one point that is 1 unit away from negative 4. So I'm going to pick negative 3. So negative 3 plus 4 is 1. 1 squared is 1 times negative 2 is negative 2. Now here, notice I have all aspects out. I'm going to have an A, I have an H, and I have a K. So h is going to be 9 because this is negative. Remember, think of it as the opposite. All right, so it's 9 and k is 4. So I'm going to plot the point 9, 4. Now I know it's opening down. So let me pick a value that is 1 unit away from 9, 10. So let's plug 10 into this. 10 minus 9 is 1. 1 squared is 1. So negative 7 times 1 is negative 7 plus 4 is negative 3. So I'm going to have the point 10, negative 3. All right, last one. Here, h is going to be negative 4 because it's opposite. So my vertex would be negative 4, 5. A is 1, so I know I'm opening up. So let's pick a value that is 1 unit away from negative 4, negative 3. So negative 3 plus 4 is 1. 1 squared is 1, plus 5 is 6. And that's your tutorial of how to do it. All right. Again, if you are struggling on this, you can always type it into the calculator and go to the table. You can use the calc button, second calc, to calculate your max or min for your vertex and work through it that way. If you guys have any further questions, you can always reach out to us for additional help.